In the hidden village of Nsagi, cradled between steep mountains and winding rivers, lived a man named Kwame. He was the only man in a village of women, a fact that brought him attention and praise. Droughts, wars, and famine had driven away the other men of Nsagi, leaving Kwame as the last reminder of what the village once was. The women of Nsagi, hardworking and resilient, looked to Kwame as the village's only hope to rebuild their community. Young women, hoping to marry him, showered him with gifts and favors. They cooked for him, cleaned for him, and tried to win his affection in every way possible. But Kwame was not a kind or loving man. Instead of gratitude, he showed them cruelty. He was arrogant and selfish, taking what he wanted from the women, then mocking their efforts to win his heart. Kwame especially toyed with a young woman named Nsagi, the daughter of an old and wise woman, Naya. Nsagi had been infatuated with Kwame for years and believed that she could change him with her kindness. She cooked for him, brought him gifts, and tried to be the woman he would choose. But like the others, Kwame took her love for granted. One night, after leading her on for months, Kwame used Nsagi's affections for his own pleasure, only to discard her cruelly the next day, leaving her heartbroken and humiliated. Nsagi's mother, Naya, had watched silently as her daughter suffered. Though she was old and frail, Naya was deeply connected to the spirits of the land. She had seen enough. One night, under the glow of the full moon, Naya stood at the edge of the village and called upon the spirits for justice. Spirits of Nsagi, she whispered into the wind, the man Kwame has broken the hearts of the women who cared for him. He has mocked their love and played with their lives. Teach him a lesson, so he may understand the pain he has caused. The spirits answered Naya's call. That night, Kwame had a strange dream in which an old woman appeared before him. Her eyes glowed with anger, and her voice echoed in his mind. "You have taken the love of these women for granted," she said. "You have mocked the hearts of those who cared for you. Now, you will feel the weight of your actions. You are cursed until you learn to respect and cherish the women you once scorned. You will leave this village, and you will not return until you are changed." When Kwame woke the next morning, everything felt different. His body was weak, his once strong muscles felt heavy and clumsy. The women of the village, who used to fawn over him, no longer paid him any attention. No matter how much he tried to charm or impress them, they ignored him completely. Desperate and confused, Kwame wandered to the edge of the village, only to feel a mysterious force pulling him away. Unable to resist, Kwame left Nsagi and wandered for days, eventually reaching a distant city far beyond the borders of the village. But in this city, things were far from easy. Life in the city was nothing like Kwame had known in Nsagi. Here, he was not special. He was just another man, struggling to survive in a world that cared nothing for his looks or charm. Hungry and desperate, Kwame tried to find work, but no one would hire him. On his first day, Kwame approached a fruit vendor, a sharp-tongued woman named Mona. "I can carry your baskets," Kwame boasted, trying to use his once strong arms to impress her. Mona, unimpressed, eyed him coldly. You look like you can barely stand, let alone carry anything. If you're going to help, do it properly." Kwame, unused to being ordered around by women, grumbled under his breath but took the job. He struggled under the weight of the baskets, and his once proud posture now bent in exhaustion. But when he asked for more food in return for his labor, Mona sneered and tossed him a single rotten fruit. "That's what you've earned," she said dismissively. Frustrated and humiliated, Kwame moved from job to job, always trying to regain the dignity and power he once had in Nsagi. He worked in the marketplace, lifting goods, sweeping floors, but he never earned enough to feed himself. Every woman he encountered seemed to see through his arrogance and responded with the same coldness or mockery. Weeks passed, then months. Kwame's suffering grew deeper as he found himself alone and desperate. Each day he thought of the village he had left behind, and the women he had once treated so badly. His heart began to ache, not just from hunger, but from regret. He began to see how wrong he had been, how he had used the women of Nsagi without ever considering their feelings. One night, as Kwame wandered the dark streets of the city, he came across an old woman struggling with a heavy sack of firewood. In the past, Kwame would have walked by without a second thought, but now, something inside him had shifted. His pride was broken. He approached the woman and offered to help. The old woman, surprised by his offer, accepted. As they walked together, she spoke to him in a gentle, knowing voice. "You carry more than just this wood, don't you, young man? Your heart is heavy with burdens of the past." Kwame nodded, too ashamed to speak. The old woman smiled kindly. "I know of a healer in this city. She has helped many who have lost their way. You should go to her." The next morning, Kwame found the healer, an elderly woman named Siti, who was respected throughout the city for her wisdom. Kwame, now humbled by months of suffering, asked for her guidance. "You are not the first to come to me with a broken heart," Siti said. "You must learn the value of kindness and respect if you wish to be whole again." Under her guidance, Kwame began to help the poor and the sick in the city. He spent his days carrying water, nursing the elderly, and doing whatever small tasks he could. Slowly, his arrogance faded, replaced by a quiet humility. He saw how hard life was for the women around him, and how much they endured without complaint. He learned to listen, to care, and to honor the people he had once taken for granted. Months turned into a year, and Kwame had become a different man. One evening, Siti approached him with a soft smile. "The spirits have watched your journey," she said. "You are no longer the man you were. It is time for you to return to your village." With a heart full of gratitude, Kwame said his goodbyes and left the city. When he finally reached Nsagi, the villagers were shocked to see him again, but they could tell something was different. The arrogance and pride were gone, replaced with humility and remorse. Kwame sought out Zoe, the woman he had hurt the most. He knelt before her and her mother, Naya, and asked for their forgiveness. "Zoe, I was blind to your kindness, and I treated you with cruelty. I have learned my lesson, and I beg for your forgiveness." Zoe, who had long healed from her heartache, saw the sincerity in Kwame's eyes. With her mother's blessing, she forgave him, and the village celebrated Kwame's return. But Kwame's redemption was not complete. He had met many men during his time in the city, men who, like him, had lost their way. He returned to the city and invited these men to come to Nsagi, to help rebuild the village and restore the balance between men and women. Grateful for the opportunity, the men followed Kwame, and soon Nsagi became a thriving community once again. Kwame and Zoe were married in a grand ceremony, and the joy of their union spread throughout the village. The spirits, pleased with Kwame's transformation, blessed the village with peace and prosperity. No longer cursed, Kwame had learned that true strength comes not from power or pride, but from love, respect, and humility. And so, the tale of the cursed bachelor of Nsagi was passed down, reminding all that no matter how far one strays, redemption is always possible when the heart is willing to change.